those skills effectively. Am I going to get bogged down on your writing and prose? No. I do look at it because it's part of me. And it's just part of your grade. I'm looking at content. Can you apply the information so I know that you have earned the skills? At the end of the semester, I really hope you have applied the knowledge I give you, that you're open-minded to the differences that we see with one another, and you're able to apply those skills effectively. So when we're evaluating, I ask you to evaluate. I ask you to say, okay, why do people do what they do? We look at one another and evaluate them using three main things. Number one, appropriateness. Is it appropriate? Does it match our expectations? Correct. Another person's competency. So when I said what was correct and incorrect, you were starting to talk about appropriateness. You said tone of voice. You said body language. You said how quickly you respond, what type of language you use. We will say what matches our expectations. Do you expect people to respond in a timely manner? Yes. And if they don't, we say, how inappropriate, right? So we evaluate a person's competency in such a manner.
I feel like there's a lot of like unwritten rules about like positive communication. And so like what if you're like, why didn't you respond to me in time? And you're like, well, I respond in 5 to 8 days when you talk to me about it. And that
You have to remember, everyone has their own lenses, everyone has their own rules, everyone has their own understanding of what is appropriate and inappropriate.
exactly, so don't you like communication even before the communication of like, this is
Well, at the same time, we are judging another person's appropriateness based on our expectations. And that's where sometimes we have the problems. I expected to walk into a store in Tallinn, Estonia and say, hi, how's it going? And they expect, what would you expect? Someone to say, hi, how are you? Hell no, they look at me like I have 5 heads. That's just not done there, right? We have smiling running all over the place trying to find a butt washer, right? Oh, somebody that works here don't understand that. But the expectation is that's what happens, right? There is a whole theory in communication studies about expectations. Expectancy violation, EVT, expectancy violation theory. Judy Burgoon in '97 started this theory with intercultural communication in that we expect people to do certain things non-verbally between cultures. And when they don't, our expectations are then violated, right? So a handshake versus eye contact versus a bow versus distance, all those things, right? So she started with nonverbal intercultural, and it can go to everything that we do on a communication basis. Our expectations are violated, we feel something. You expect someone to answer right away. You expect someone to be nice to your sibling because they are family. When those expectations aren't met, that's when there's a problem in the communication and the relationship. But it all started with intercultural because we walk in and we expect everyone to be just like us when they really aren't. We expect people to be appropriate, and some people don't, they aren't learned, right? Who taught you what was appropriate?
Folks.
One hopes it's your parents.
Was that my mama?
Life. Sometimes you have to get beaten down before you realize. I ran it, my husband and I took the dogs for a walk this morning, walked into Carrie, who also walked her dog Ruby, who would sniff my dogs, etc. And I'm like, what do you do? Why aren't you at school? I knew she was an educator. She goes, I quit teaching. She was a 3rd grade teacher. I said, why? She goes, being hit and being told to F off with no consequences for the students. I was done. Guess what, parents? Step up. They need to know what's appropriate and how you treat your teachers, right? Effectiveness. Mutually shared meanings and goals. degree to which communicators can give and share what it is. Remember, communication is about sharing meaning. If I hold up a signal and y'all know what it's all about, where are my Trekkies, right? What does this mean?
Peace. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. How many of you knew that this meant live long and prosper? Okay, not everybody did. Those that are in any way watch any Star Trek.
The aliens.
Yeah, that was for the aliens. I don't like Star Trek.
It is. It's an alien. Spock is an alien who said live long and prosper.
Oh.
For sure.
Same thing.
Yeah, but most people would know what this is a sign for, right? So effectiveness is I cannot assume if I want to be effective. I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know what that is? Not even watch the Star Trek, right? Sometimes people, y'all talk and say all these things, I have no idea what you're talking about. Communication adaptability. This is key for my scholars in the room. Changing your interaction behaviors and goals to meet the situation. You didn't get your answer as quickly as you wanted, so do you send another message saying, just checking in to see if there was any clarification needed for that answer?
Never.
No?
Never.
It depends on the context. If it was a business and I needed an answer, I would
Oh,
totally
yeah.
do that.
If
If it was a
Communication
friend or a relation,
adaptability.
I'd be like, what's that,
Communication
right?
adaptability.
What's
No, it
wrong?
depends on how strong that bond is.
There's so many layers, and that's what a scholar looks like. The context, the relationship, their background, the meaning, what we're trying to do, how, do they not understand, and so they're just gonna not answer, whatever it could be. So,
Could you give an example of communication adaptability, like a situation where you would use
So when
that?
I was in Helen and I'm saying, hi, walking into stores, I adapted to where I put things down, I said thank you, and I walked out, and I didn't try to engage with anybody that was sitting behind the counter and work. And they do.
Okay.
Checkers sit. In European countries, they sit down. Only in the United States do we make checkers stand up. The airline too, when we were in Vilnius, you put your luggage down on a scale, they're sitting there, they check it in whatever, it weighs it, and then there's a conveyor belt that sends it to the back. They don't even have to touch it.
Wow.
What? So many better airports in the world, I'm just saying. But don't go to Frankfurt. Oh, terrible. Adaptability means changing things around for the situation, for the interactants, so that you are then a competent communicator. If the other person is not adaptable to the communication, we then look at them and say, what is wrong with you? Why are you not adapting to the situation? So we evaluate. But if you are able to learn these things, if you are able to put these into practice, you will be a flexible communicator. I'm not talking about someone who can do flips and things like that. A flexible communicator is someone who we strive to be. Open-minded attitude, someone who can change depending on what's going on, and is very adaptive.
Okay.
If I were to walk into a room where there is little native speakers, I know I have to adapt my language and speak at a level they can understand. Perhaps more interaction amongst themselves, changing the way. Some of you are very comfortable in what you wear every day, but if you go to one of your culture immersion locations, you have to dress differently. That's being adapted. what you have to do, remember, the inflexible communicator is not taking the other person's point of view into account. We don't want to be inflexible. To do and be mindful, open-minded, integrate what we know. When we are talking about our mindset, I am going to talk about competency as being a flexible or inflexible communicator. I'm also going to talk about an ethnocentric versus an ethno-relative mindset. So let's talk about this. This is going to be said many times throughout the semester. So an ethnocentric comes from the Greek, ethno meaning culture, centro meaning central, center of. Ethnocentric, you're stuck in your own cultural worldviews. You use your own cultural values as standards. We will even discuss why we have ethnocentric mindsets and behaviors. Someone who is ethnocentric views your way as natural, and the way other people do it is unnatural. I don't know if anyone else is watching Chiefs of War, the Jason Momoa series about. It's done in Hawaiian. They are actually speaking Hawaiian. It's on Apple TV. We call it Chiefs of War because they're a little outfit.
I might watch them.
It's the guy's cheeks, so go for it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Momoa's cheeks. Yeah. Sign me up. But they are actually doing it, and the entire cast and crew are Hawaiian or Polynesian, and they're speaking in native Hawaiian, right? So what you have though is Captain Cook came to the Hawaiian Islands. He tried to say, "Oh, you're all savages. I'm going to take this over." And we are seeing here, this is when Kamehameha was first starting his rise into joining all the islands together. But it's the white people who came in and says, "You're unnatural, you're heathens, you don't know what you're doing," throughout history. And that's what you're going to study as well. Ethnocentric mindset, that we're right, you're wrong. The Spanish missionaries coming up California.
I hate colleges.
Yeah, y'all had to learn that in 4th grade if you were in the state of California, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all that they did they actually brought diseases, they punished them, they weren't allowed to use their language anymore, they used them as slave labor, all kinds of different things, because they were viewed as unnatural. And they had to help them. And if they refused, then it's better to kill them than to keep them in their natural state.
They tried to have us build the missionaries. I didn't do mine. I got in trouble, but I wasn't allowed to do mine.
Missionaries?
Yeah, like they'd have you like choose a missionary and you have to make a model after it.
In
Like
popsicle
decorate it.
sticks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I said
Trust me,
nah. I had like a singular sheep, a singular cow, and
My
it was
son had to
like
play
white,
pocket, you know,
and I
they
got
said
in
it.
trouble. But like, I'm not about to do that.
I used to.
I looked at old pictures when the kids were younger, and Amanda's in like an Indian headband and Indian dress, and the other people wearing pilgrims outfit for Thanksgiving and stuff. I don't do that anymore. So our communication style is correct and proper. What we do is correct, and they do is wrong. So right and wrong is a very ethnocentric mindset. Everybody has it inside of them to have this mindset. It is a way that we self-preserve. It's a way that we feel we're part of our group. It's the us versus them that brings us in our own group together. And everybody, we're gonna get into stereotyping, prejudice, all the discrimination, all these different things later on. This is just to help you understand the terms I'll be using over the semester. You got a question, Tom?
Yeah, well, not really a question. I was saying, I think a lot of us have ethnocentric mindset is because that's really all that we know. You know, growing up, all we know is our own culture. So,
Which is why I'm glad you're here, and I don't want you to think I'm being all woke and whatever, but y'all know what woke comes from? Be mindful of the differences, being awakened to the persecution that has happened. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just been used in a bad way lately. So if we understand the differences, I just want you to understand differences, I don't care what you do with it, I just want you to understand the differences, okay? So ethno-relative is what we're striving for. Being aware of the other person's frame of reference. Not being ethnocentric, not having reactive judgments, and engaging in some kind of cross-cultural comparative analysis. We are more alike to one another than we are different. We need to find and bridge those differences. This then would create a respectful, inclusive way that we can all communicate and use our communication skills. Ethnocentric mindset can lead to persecution, can lead to devastation, can lead to many terrible things that you're going to be studying as well. Ethno-relative is being open-minded and just looking and saying,